Hi Diamond, how you doing? I hope you had a good morning so far. Sorry for the late update. At least it's here, but of course 10 a.m. is not really what I'm aiming for, but I had a crazy morning. So I have a couple of text boxes on the chart. In the previous video, I shortly highlighted the fact that I'm looking to update the strategy very soon once more, update the PDFs as well with the 886 rule, potentially removing potential counter this with order blocks and stuff. Right now, the rule is that any counter divergence should be taken into account and avoid you taking a trade. Potentially, we are considering at least removing that. And if there is a setup with waves over here, for example, and there is one counter CVD, but it's with an order block, that it is not taken into account and one just takes the setup, right? Then we have a big wick with high volume. Usually these type of setups, if you have a big wick to the downside on high volume, creates a low, and if you then get a setup with this lower probabilities, generally it plays out because CVD is best. Well, I should say differently, CVD has a lower probability of playing out with a high volume, high or low. So that is something to consider as well. Of course, it can happen that it plays out. So this is again the risk versus the reward. 1R loss versus potential 3R wins, right? So yeah, something I'm not yet completely sure about. Then we have no waves above the candle making the low. That's something I mentioned in the recent video, and that Seek mentioned to me as well the other day, that I said that once, and it's something to look at maybe as well. We now moved above this candle high. We also have some waves above the candle high, so that might increase the probabilities of then using the low. So the bottom two here could be merged basically into potentially an addition to the strategy, right? Also potentially moving from 3-day-old pivots to 1-day pivots or 1.5-day pivots, because always the more local the setup, the higher the probability of it actually playing out. So that's something to consider. And based on the December statistics as well, if pivots older than 1 day were not traded, you would have saved yourself 5 losses and 3 break-evens, and all the wins were shorter than 1 day. So that was quite interesting, no? Okay. Let's go over the pivots and the setups then, right? We have 2 pivots here, right? Short and a long pivot, but for the short, we have counter CVD divergences because we have a bullish CVD with the low and the higher low here, which you can see on the chart. So you can see over here, we have a higher low in price, but look at my yellow cursor line, lower low on the CVD in yellow over here, bullish CVD divergence, target is this high. So yeah, we can't take a short with the high, counter CVD, we need to wait for a new high, waves down, retracement up, bearish CVD without any bullish CVD divergences during the drop. That's not what we want to see. So for a short, we probably have to wait for a long time. Now for the long, of course, plan is plan. At the moment, right, we have the wick candle here, price moved above, at least created waves here, so it can be interesting addition. We didn't hit the golden pocket, taken from the low to the high, right, we actually missed out on that. More locally over here, arguably, of course, you have another pivot, which is then this low, by the way. So, blop, blop, putting that on the chart here. So, of course, you have over here a low as well, which is made after waves to the downside here, and we don't yet have waves to the upside. This is important, right? We have a candle with a move up. This is your first candle. This is your second candle, right? If it closes higher than this one or higher than the close. So this would only be a move 1. Then you need a 2, 3, then a retracement to the golden pocket from the low to this high, bullish CVD, and then a move up, right? So that is important. We got to be patient, see what happens locally. It's been at the moment quite complex from an Elliott Wave point of view as well, but of course how the waves are forming in general. So remaining patient with the long side as well. Of course, we have the golden pocket still down here at 42,220 for the potential bigger setup here, no? And depending on how price moves, there could be a potential one with this wick low. Again, it's a big wick, high volume, but we have to observe what price does around these wicks here locally as well. Now, from an Elliott Wave point of view, holy moly, this is quite a interesting scenario. Now, this short, by the way, is a bit old because that was from the short over here, right? And yesterday, let me remove it as well. yesterday what we were talking about is that if price touches the 0.618, probabilities are higher to eventually take this high here, because the probabilities increase. This is a three-wave structure to the downside, right? But that doesn't mean we are randomly, of course, longing or shorting at certain areas on the chart. And when we look at these structures here, this is, as mentioned in the update video, increased probabilities of a three-wave structure, but it's actually quite difficult to count an impulse or something impulsy here to the upside as well. Arguably, 1, 2, and then what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Where's your other 4 or 5? If this is your 4, it's too deep. You know what I mean? But the probabilities would still be higher on a medium time frame to look for a move to the upside. It's just very difficult to spot an entry here, if you know what I mean, right? Price moved to the downside impulsively. At that moment in time, we didn't yet know if this was a 3 or a C. We have to wait for a range to form. 0.618 is hit. So arguably when the 0.618 is hit and price comes back down, okay, might have potential. But then WXY, like, it's a difficult scenario here. But the probabilities on the medium time frame would be higher to eventually take this high, as this then becomes a three-waver, which increases probabilities to then range or look up. Yeah, so from an Elliott Wave point of view, it's a difficult one. Here we have a three-wave structure, higher probability, as mentioned in the video, to the downside, which locally increase probabilities for a move up, which is what we have now. So in case you did trade it, what I mentioned in the video, you'll now be in profit. If you went long over here somewhere, just make sure you manage it well. Probability is then higher to take this high because of the three-wave nature here, in a potential A, B, C, and even if you turn around, potentially double zigzag and come back up later. So I would be very patient in this range, because we have been ranging here for a very long time, and preferably look for more info. Keep an eye on the silver updates, right? Because what I say in the silver updates is literally what I'm looking for, and the probabilities and everything are right there, right? Yeah, let's see what price can give us. We do have some news. Actually forgot to say that in the update video, but 2:30 p.m., right? So make sure you trade safe around these hours, as volatility can kick in. So that being said, thanks for watching this update. I'm going to catch you in the group. Bye bye.